Welcome to the party, pal. Michael Govia, Travis Roy, Eric Branstrom, Cinema 9, movies, films, talking, podcast. That's what we do here. All those things. Cinema 9 pod, protonmail.com, and that's about it. Anything else? Is that it?
No, I think that's a great intro. That's good.
Hey, everybody. Good morning, America. We don't have a background of people that watch through a glass window like they do on those morning shows in the network, but we do our best to provide you with content related to movies. Travis Roy, you're in Hazel Park and you watch movies. Is that true?
That is an accurate statement. I do other things with my life, but I can't pretend like I do very many other things.
Why not?
With my life.
Come on, it's freedom time, man.
I don't know. I'm gonna miss blaming COVID for spending my life on my couch, though. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's it was a good run. Had to close out sometime, kid. What about you, Eric, out there in Griffith, Indiana? Society treating you well?
Yeah, man. It's a beautiful rainy day here in Griffith. I'm changing diapers, watching movies, eating trash.
Ooh.
What could be
Eating trash?
the life?
What kind of trash you got?
I went from keto to cupcakes. I ate like 3 of them yesterday. I'm completely fucked. It's off the rails.
Yep. It's not your fault, though, if there's any consolation.
No.
We live in a society of addictive foods, and it's not easy. Yeah. We're doing the best we can to fight that challenge. And as we get older and society morphs into a better tomorrow with medical techniques that will improve our state of being, I think we can eat whatever we want and get away with it.
We're all gonna live forever, America.
We're gonna live forever. Fame. Yeah. I gotta tell you what, society has been treating me okay. It's been a challenge to get by, but with the COVID vaccines and people being able to go outside more often and not have to wear a mask and smile at one another, it's nice. You look at your neighbor, you're like, hi. You smile at them without a mask, and they know you're smiling. Otherwise, you're just a pair of eyes most of the time.
So I've been checked in with you lately, on a more personal matter, Mike. But is the border going to be open? Are you going to be able to see your lady friend, or is it just still like?
Who knows? Man. Yeah, it's all mysteries. A lot of complications going on there. So a lot of challenges. Not just the border. Some vaccine-related issues. Some people have objections. Some people are paranoid. So
gotcha.
Unfortunately, who knows how to play out? I mean, it's complicated to know if you're with someone and you're vaccinated, but they're not, and like you make out with them. Like, are you going to give them COVID somehow? What if you happen to get it and you didn't know you had it because you were vaccinated? I mean, I don't know how that works, so it's very complicated.
Sounds like a death sentence for somebody, as far as I can tell. Sorry, I shouldn't joke. I don't know.
Jokes!
I don't know. How's my connection, guys? You guys both seem to be breaking up really bad, but I'm wondering if it's on my end. Am I like coming through okay?
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay, then all right, good. Then I've been having some internet issues lately. I should have plugged in directly before the show. I didn't think of it. Sorry, guys. But
wow.
let me know if there's any struggles. I should be okay though.
What did you have? A few drinks this morning? Huh? I think you did, didn't you?
What are you, Mother Teresa? I never touched this stuff.
Oh, is that a Mike Starr reference?
Is that the clown Mike Starr? I forgot about that. I always forget that. You guys actually confirmed that. That's crazy. Mike Starr references. We haven't talked about Paul Schrader in a while, though,
or Philip Seymour Hoffman, for that matter. We only talk about 3 people on the show.
Yes, that's true. We're going to talk about Dogma in today's show. Dogma is a movie directed by Kevin Smith from 1999 that is difficult to find. We'll talk about that as well. Not easy to find this film because it has licensing issues related to people who are not cool anymore, and it's complicated.
Okay.
Is that what's going on there?
Yeah. The old that guy. So we'll get to that. We'll talk about Chris Rock and look who's here. Aaron's here. I'm watching. Everyone sounds and looks fine. There you go, Travis.
Thank you, Aaron.
So
thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Wonder Man. But yeah, we'll talk Dogma, of course. Does it hold up? Does it not? Is Eric going to go off the rails? We have no idea what to expect from Eric. Eric has had
I think we have an idea of what to expect from Eric.
We'll see. I mean, he hasn't been shy about his opinions and his flat out disdain. So, religion's a complicated thing, but this is a movie podcast. It's not a religious podcast. So we'll see how it plays out. In the meantime, we welcome your emails. Oh, you have a comment you would like to add?
I was going to suggest that we pivot, maybe spin this into like the Religion 9 podcast, and we'll just discuss religion constantly. People like that. Obviously, this movie was a hit.
What if we just focused on plenary indulgence, a podcast dedicated to plenary indulgence?
Oh boy. Okay.
Or just Catholic dogmatic law in general. That could be an entertaining podcast. Could it
I know
not?
very little about it. I should spout off about it.
Yeah, I mean, we could really use Aaron here. Aaron is a Bible expert. He loves talking about the Bible because he learned a lot about it growing up. Aaron, tell us about the Bible if you can in the comments. No emails today, though. You guys followed through. Thank you very much. We've gone cold on the emails as we commanded, so we appreciate that. Thank you, everybody. Having said that, why don't we get into quarantine viewing picks? And Travis Roy, it's time for you to share your choices for recommendations, movies you watched, and all that jazz.
Okay, well, I watched a few movies. I watched the new Pixar offering, Luca, direct to Disney Plus Pixar offering, which is kind of strange, but it was good. It was enjoyable. It was fun. I checked out Leviathan at Eric's suggestion. I had really mixed feelings about this movie. I felt like on one hand, I felt like it was like really derivative of like Alien and some other stuff. But also I couldn't take my eyes off it. I was totally engaged and like hooked in and really dug it. And then there's like two things that happen at the end of the movie where it's like, oh, and then I'm like, ah. So it kind of left me with a bad taste in my mouth at the end.
You didn't like when Peter Weller cold cocked Meg Foster in the face?
Well, spoiler alert for a movie from 1989, folks. I didn't care for that.
Oh, okay.
It seems like there's a lot of movies where where women get punched in the face by men on this show. Like every movie we watch, it seems like there's some woman that gets punched in the. I mean, even Dogma, Salma Hayek gets punched in the face by Ben Affleck in this movie. So, or is it Jason Lee? Someone punches her in the face.
High point.
Wow. I watched The Passing from 1983. This was an interesting turn. I would not recommend this necessarily. This was like I heard about this because this is a movie this guy made this movie over the course of 7 years. He directed and starred, but his co-star died during filming and he had to like finish up with him. It was very much a labor of love. Lots of shock value in this movie, but it was like one of those things where like just because it's a cult movie doesn't mean it's actually worth watching necessarily. Wow. So I spent an hour of half of my life watching 1983's The Passing. But a cult movie I watched that I loved that I had never seen before was Return of the Living Dead. What a fucking waste my life has been with this movie not in it. It was so fucking fun. I couldn't believe how imaginative and fantastic Return of the Living Dead is, which I'm sure that most people, if you have any interest in this, you would have already watched it. But man, it was fucking great. I loved it so much. Wow. Have you guys seen this movie? It's great.
No.
It's fucking great. It's really funny, really original. I watched The Hitcher, also at your suggestion, Eric. I really enjoyed Rutger Hauer in the movie. I really questioned his character's motives often. But some real twists and turns. Definitely see why this is a cult classic. Speaking of cult classics, that was a fun ride. I liked The Hitcher. That was pretty great. I did watch Stargate again. I don't know what you're talking about, bud.
What?
Just dismissible, just utterly dismissible.
Wow. I stand by Stargate.
I sat through that thing again, just kind of waiting to see what it was that you got out of it, but it didn't come to me. I respect it for swinging for the fences by being like a classic, like 90s, like big blockbuster hit.
Yeah.
Back when they would make blockbuster hits based on something like, I don't know, Egyptian mythology as opposed to like, Marvel movies, which I love all the Marvel movies, but still, it was an interesting take. I watched Larry Fessenden's Habit from 1997 because I love Larry Fessenden. He's got a tooth missing through most of this movie, or all of this movie. That was very distracting. Yeah. Last but not least, I'm going to make my big recommendation for the week. Oh, I watched The Guest also. That was pretty good from 2014. Adam Wingard's The Guest was fun. But my big suggestion for the week, what's his name? David Robert Mitchell's follow-up to It Follows, Under the Silver Lake. Did you watch this, Eric? I know you're a big fan of It Follows.
Turned it off. I could not handle it. Turned it off.
I was entranced. I thought it was fucking awesome. I thought it was all the things that Inherent Vice wanted to be. Mm-hmm. I thought it was classic noir with a fun, original new twist. And I loved it. I thought Under the Silver Lake was fantastic. And I thought that Andrew Garfield was a perfect pairing with that director. There is some stuff in there. There's some cringy fucking moments, like way more masturbation than necessary for any film. But I really liked Under the Silver Lake, and that would be my main recommendation for the week.
Masturbation. Okay.
There was some masturbation in it. A little bit of masturbation.
When you said The Guest, I thought you were talking about the Bouncing Souls. I was like, that's a great song.
The Bouncing Souls. No, not them.
Souls. How about Night of the Creeps? It makes a
Night of the
great
Creeps.
double feature with Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah, Aaron, I've been meaning to watch Night of the Creeps. It's not currently streaming anywhere, and I refuse to pay money for rentals when I have so many fucking services. So whenever that shows up
True.
somewhere, I'm gonna watch it. It's on my
Aaron
list.
also says Under the Silver Lake is amazing. A lot of Easter eggs.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in that movie. That's partly why I was so engaged. I mean, like, there's just constantly stuff to pick at and look at. And I'm really surprised you didn't like it, Eric, especially since you liked It Follows so much. I felt like it was a really good follow up to that. But teach
Maybe I have to be in the right mood because it's a very original film. I'll give it another chance based on both of your recent mentions. Yeah, cool, Travis. Thank you for watching those other suggestions. I'm glad you liked The Hitcher and Leviathan. That creature was cool in it. It was fucking different it wasn't just a random monster. It did
not that different. Pretty heavily borrowed from the thing, I would say. But still cool. Still cool. Daniel Stern, extremely problematic character.
But he got his comeuppance. You know what? I had a weird week. I watched a fuckload of movies, I mentioned you guys earlier. I watched Crybaby, so I'd never seen any John Waters movies. I decided to turn this on, like expecting it to just be really dumb. And I ended up liking it. I just don't know how to explain this film. It's like, I don't know what was going on the set. Like, all I can imagine is like John Waters was like, before every scene, he was like, okay, everybody just make the stupidest face possible until I say cut. That's pretty much what everyone does. We got like Iggy Pop and Willem Dafoe, and fucking Patty Hearst pops up, and she's not bad in it. It clips along at this pace that you don't really have time to stop and think about how grotesque and ridiculous it all is. I just dug it. It was different. Then I watched Taps. I was talking about Taps. I'd never
Gregory
seen this.
Hines. Sean Penn.
Timothy Hutton.
Timothy Hutton. That Taps. I thought this movie was fucking dumb, man. Like, the premise is fucking ridiculous. I didn't care about like this siege that was going on. I just wanted to ground all these little dipshits.
Man.
I was just
they got
go
a
to
fucking
bed.
Hardcore issue. Timothy Hutton is really struggling, and Tom Cruise is out of his mind. And
I was the Toy Soldiers guy. Toy Soldiers was the one for me. I didn't go with Taps.
I just didn't understand like what they thought was going to happen. Like literally like in the middle of the movie, like two like major like decorated generals are like, what do you think is going to happen here? Like, you guys are fucked. Just end it. It never ends. They're just like, no, tomorrow, like next year we're gonna have a full curriculum based semester without any.
They
problems.
love their school. They won't want this thing to close, man. This is
there's
one
other
of the
ways,
last, military.
Go to
schools.
bed. I would have grounded all of them. Fuck all them guys. On the Rocks. You know what? You guys were talking about how Sofia Coppola's was a huge disappointment.
I said I liked On the Rocks. I
dug it. Yeah, I dug the film too, Travis. Like, it was different. I was telling Ange, like, there's not many times I can remember a story that was just don't give me that soundbite.
Now we got to start. I'm going to start getting my own thing to make farty noises when you talk.
Give me a honk. Give me like a clown honk, because I dug the movie, man. It's just you don't see a lot of stories about just a woman who's being cheated on, trying to figure out what's possibly being cheated on, trying to figure out what's going on. It's always the fucking dude like trying to get away with it, and like you got to like care about him for some fucked up reason. It was just a different story for me, and I thought Bill Murray was sweet and tender. I like Rashida Jones, and I like all of Sofia Coppola's movies. I cannot help it. Every time she makes a movie, it's just I'm invested. They're just so different. I can't. Even the Bling Ring I liked. So
and
I dug On the Rocks, man.
A buddy movie between a father and a daughter.
Thank
is
you.
Unique.
That's a great point, Travis. Much better than mine. You're right. A buddy movie that's not too dramatic. It's just a nice slice of life. I saw Luca.
Really? What about you said buddy movies?
Please, yeah.
I give you the Buddy Christ.
You had that drop weight.
Christ.
I did. That was a perfect time for me. Oh, well, look who's here. He hasn't been here forever, by the way. Our old pal Derek Fern. We missed you, Derek.
Hey,
Former
Derek.
guest on the show, Derek Fern.
Free cushions, fan, no lice, no
DL
talk,
Fern.
30, sometimes farts. That's fantastic.
L. Fern.
He's looking forward to the main segment, Eric, so don't let him down.
Eric, you watched Luca? What'd you think?
Yeah. I thought I didn't care for it that much. I thought the concept was a little bit tired. I thought it was just a little generic and boring for me. Like, I couldn't get into it. Like, don't go to the mainland. The humans are dangerous. I've seen that a million times. I couldn't get into it, dude. But the animation was pretty. for the most part. But I'm excited for Turning Red. They're going to go back to theaters on the next Pixar, so I'm still on board. I just thought this was kind of tired for me.
I thought it was. I mean, well, it's generic because I mean, like Selkies are like a really old idea, right? Like the whole like people coming from the sea and all. Like, it's an old idea, but like, yeah, I mean, I could kind of see why it went straight to Disney Plus.
Here we go. Look at this
the music
Boom.
and
And our friend of the show, Aaron, is saying that Luca was boring.
Luca boring.
It was boring, but I do. Yeah, it was. I would put it in middling Pixar.
The stakes. Like, what were the stakes? They wanted to win that race. I can't do it.
His child made him watch it. Eric, can you relate to this? Aaron's child forced him to watch it.
No, my baby can't talk. She just like pukes and like shits her diaper.
That doesn't mean she doesn't dictate schedules, though.
Yeah, I guess so. You know what? I took a look at The Conjuring 3. The Devil Made Me Do It. I'm a fan of this franchise, the Conjuring films only. I don't go for the spin-offs, mostly because I love the chemistry between Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga. I think they're fun stories that take a very tantalizing, inspired by true story, and then just totally fill it with fucking nonsense that totally never happened. In this one, they did that way too much. So there was just no story there, and there was just nothing there. It was boring. So I'm worried that there won't be a fourth to redeem this series. But yeah, part 3
fuck the Warrens. That's all I got to say.
Patrick Wilson is so boring. He's such a boring actor.
We talked about this. Like, he's charismatic and fun to watch, but like he's wooden as hell. I think Travis brought that up. I'll watch anything he's in, but yeah, he's just there.
Same.
I liked him in The Watchmen, but I still find him to be kind of like a bland guy. I don't know.
He's very bland.
Yeah, good bland.
He does a job. Yeah, he's a good actor. He does a job.
Sometimes
Good
you want
bland.
that bland white man appeal, right?
Yeah, it's like Bowling Alley Pizza, the actor. It's like bland, but like, hey, it's pizza.
Aaron has seen everything you guys have seen. It's very impressive. Again, Conjuring is boring. This time, another child made him watch that one. Damn, your kids are powerful, Aaron. Well, you're just a cool dad. What can I say?
Reason for me not to
Aaron,
have
did
kids,
your
I watch what I
kids
want.
make you watch Fatal, the Hilary Swank thriller from hack director Dion Taylor? Because it was fucking horrible. She plays like this sultry seducer of men, and like it's supposed to be some thriller. It's fucking terrible, man. Awful. I expect a lot more from Hilary Swank, 2-time Oscar-winning actress of incredible caliber, reduced to this fodder that's not fit for made for television trash. Horrible film. The Night Listener, Travis. I think you had recommended this maybe a few months ago.
A quiet,
quiet, muted performance, kind of a slight anecdotal script, even kind of a footnote of a script, but interesting, well made with great performances by Toni Collette and Robin Williams. I recommend the movie. I dug it. Yeah, and I got to tell you, that's pretty much it. And I'd say my favorite of the week was inexplicably Crybaby. Never thought I would say that. I remember seeing the poster in like 1990 when I was a kid. Like, what the fuck? Like Edward Scissorhands, like this dumb tear in his ear and dumb tear in his eye. Like, what is this? I'm a fan. It just goes to show you, man. It did make me cry. It's cringeworthy as hell. It's fun. Take another look at it.
It is a Waters movie, so.
Well, Waters is a
cringe is what he aims for, right?
Like cringing, like it's weird.
Yes, like it's just they're fucking bizarre. Like I've never seen Hairspray or like Pink Flamingos.
Check out Pecker. That's a delight.
Yeah, I remember Jim used to watch.
No, I got one.
Pecker.
How about Serial Mom? I love Serial Mom.
Serial Mom.
Serial Mom is great.
Maybe.
That would actually.
I think that's what the word we're looking for. Campy.
Yeah, that's probably Serial Mom is probably the only John Waters movie I ever saw that I didn't hate.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, it's definitely campy and a satire, but Kathleen Turner,
yeah,
she still had it then before she turned into whatever she is now. I'm not really
what a lovely
older woman. Yeah, like a woman of a certain age. What is your point here, pal?
What are you getting at, dude?
She got hit a lot harder by reality than others have. That's all I'm saying. So that's all I have to say about that. Crybaby is amazing, completely bonkers, says Aaron. Wow.
Okay.
Aaron has seen everything, man. He's on top of it. That's the kind of
really
interaction we like here, man. Somebody who's seen all the movies and can have a comment about it. That's what we love. Thank you, Aaron. Very exciting news that you've seen Crybaby. I have seen films.
Yeah, what do you got, Mike?
What have you seen?
I've been reducing the movie content, and I've been doing that. I've actually followed through on that. So I have not watched it because I was on, I was watching like 15 movies a week. I feel like it was just I couldn't even remember them all and share them all. Travis understands. He knows what I'm talking about.
I left a bunch off like usual.
Yay! So I saw the second of the Guy Ritchie Sherlock Holmes Game of Shadows. I never saw the second one. I saw the first one, so I finally knocked that one out. It's just like they want you to be looking at things like so you can follow the clues, but then they like spell it out for you. So it's like, why do I even have to pay attention? Because they're just going to rewind what I missed because I'm not as wise and is able to identify things like Sherlock Holmes is. I don't know. Whatever. And people say that Robert Downey Jr.'s accent is awful. Like, I don't think it wasn't like awful. I don't, is it just if you're an American actor and you do a British accent, you're going to get shit on because we just can't do it as good as the Brits can do American accents? Is that what it is?
I think historically, Bob Downey Jr. has been one of the best at it. I mean, Chaplin is perfect.
Yeah. Well,
my opinion.
There's people still shit on it. What can I do? I'm not these people, though. I thought it was fine. I finally saw The Bounty. I never saw it. I've heard all the talk about it. Anthony Hopkins and Mel Gibson, the story of Captain William Bligh. Damn your eyes, man. Damn your eyes, man. It's just like, it's made fun of in The Trip with Steve Coogan.
Damn you, damn you. That's Tony Hopkins.
Damn your eyes, man. He's just like a psycho. But it's a bizarre movie. And the fact that it's made in the 80s, it has such an 80s score. Which is weird.
Is it Howard Shore?
Is it Howard Shore? Yeah,
I wouldn't be
I
surprised.
would believe that. It's definitely synth heavy, but it's a movie about the 1700s. So, it's a weird movie. It's really well. Yeah, it is. That's what's weird about it. The anachronistic angle of that. But everything else is like totally, really period focused, and it's really kind of detailed. I think it's directed by Roger Donaldson, and it's pretty good. I think it's pretty good. It's definitely worth watching if you've never seen it. It's been made fun of. It's easy to make fun of Hopkins. Captain William Bligh is a lot of fun.
Picture like Anthony Hopkins like pulling out of Arby's and like seeing that they forgot his horsey sauce, being like, "Oh, damn you! You can all go to hell!
Damn you, curly fries! Where are you?" Yeah, it's a lot of fun to do that, and it's like Hopkins is not old. I always feel like Hopkins has been old most of my life. He's not actually that old there. So
you ever see Magic, the Richard Attenborough film about like a killer dummy that like
it's one of his earlier. No,
ventriloquist horror.
I've been meaning to catch it.
Cool.
It's like one of the only horror movies he's done.
I bet Aaron's seen it.
The right? Or the rights? Yeah, I bet Eric's seen it.
Aaron, have you seen that? Let us know. So yeah, check out The Bounty. It's interesting. It's also based on a true story. If that's like something you're into, it really did happen. So, Mel Gibson, also Liam Neeson and Daniel Day-Lewis. So it's like a huge cast of young, up and coming people who did things that are considered respectable. If that's your thing. So Travis, I watched Terminator Dark Fate because you really recommended it.
This is the one you didn't care for.
Yeah, man. Like, it's just the same fucking story again. There's got to be a truck scene chase and the same chase, and it was
there's a big truck chase.
The first half hour is like note for note of like, hey, you're the new Sarah Connor, but you're Latina, so that's the difference. You're this John Connor, and then Sarah Connor shows up, which is cool. It's great to see Linda Hamilton. I enjoyed that part.
I loved it when she showed up, on the bridge.
It was cool, but then like the fact that like a spoiler alert fest here, I got to talk about it to kind of lay this out. Have you not seen it, Eric? You haven't seen it?
No, I saw it. I dug it. I told you guys I liked it.
Okay, well I missed that. So yes, the fact that Arnold's Terminator from way back when he killed John after this alternate move that happens, he ends up killing John Connor, but then he's in this reality and he lives peacefully and becomes a caretaker. It's really weird to me. I just didn't really buy that they're trying to sell this fact that, hey, this Terminator actually learned how to care for people and humanity, and it's
commenting
like
on AI and all that kind of stuff. Well, it seems like a stretch. It's a fucking Terminator movie. It is a stretch.
That's not even my biggest beef. It's just the fact that it's all note for note, like a showdown, and the shotgun loading. It's all like, I've seen all this. You don't need to replay the hits. You were on the right track here.
You wanted like the slow, steady, thoughtful, the thinking man's Terminator film. Like two people sitting across from each other at a diner talking about the future.
Yeah, I would love to see a coffee and cigarettes Terminator version. That would be interesting.
My
I wonder
dinner
what Jim
with Terminator.
Jarmusch. Jim Jarmusch does Terminator.
My dinner with the T800.
I want the action. You want that. I also don't get this Mackenzie Davis thing. Is she done? Is it over? I don't get it. She's in Blade Runner 2049. She's in this movie.
Honestly, I don't
She's
dislike
like the
her.
Patrick Wilson of actors.
She just kind of feels like, you know how sometimes like all of a sudden you're like, whoa, someone got a great agent, right?
Yes!
Like this all of a sudden,
like Domhnall Gleeson did. He was in
exactly
everything.
who I was thinking of. Exactly who I was thinking of. With somebody of like middling, but like decent talent, like clearly talented, absolutely. But like, what the fuck? Why are you in everything all of a sudden? You're like, something changed for you somewhere.
Justin Bieber School of Acting.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad that you at least agree with that. So
I mean,
it's not a terrible movie. It's not terrible.
I mean, again, like obviously the first two are the best ones, but if you want to watch one that's not one of the first two Terminator movies, I'd say this is the best sense, personally.
There's actually some good humor in it too, like the potato chip bag and the phone stuff. I laughed. So and they like swear a lot. And they're like, I don't fucking care. I do like that this was a very hard R movie, so I will give it credit for that. I always appreciate pushing the limits there. So it's not when you talked about it, I really thought, I was like, wow, I really got to see this. So maybe maybe I just took your excitement and I took it too far. That's my fault. I'll take responsibility for that because I'm the movie watcher in the end. All right. I watched Seven Psychopaths. I haven't watched that in a while. I went back and checked it out, which is a Martin McDonagh film with a lot of great actors. And it's great. I really enjoy it. I strongly recommend Seven Psychopaths. If you love In Bruges and you never saw Seven Psychopaths, please check it out. Please do that. I think it would be a lot of fun. Aaron says that, yeah, she's pretty tall. She's tall and pretty. A good thing for Hollywood, I guess. That's all we're going on. That's kind of weak. I feel like Mackenzie Davis, maybe a bit overhyped as well, but that's how it goes. So check out Seven Psychopaths. And I did watch Joe vs. Volcano because I hadn't watched it in years. I love watching it. It's always great. I loved it. And it reminded me of so many things I'd forgotten about.
I love it so much.
Like Dan Hedaya.
I am not arguing that with you.
Arguing that with you.
Yeah.
I know he can get the job, but can he do the job?
I know that.
We haven't talked JP Shanley on the show in like 2 episodes either, so that's good.
Yeah, there we go. He's really becoming a big part of it. I went back and watched Todd Phillips' Road Trip, and we've already done enough Todd Phillips movies on this for like a long time. There's no need to ever really do another Todd Phillips movie on this podcast necessarily. And Road Trip was a lot of fun for me. Hilarious. Giant night at the movie theater. Like I've told the story before. Did acid all day in Whippets and then hit the theater with a whole bunch of us. Like it seemed like almost all my friends. Yeah, it seemed like all my friends were there, and it was weird. Like almost it seemed that way. But then again, it wasn't acid, so maybe I misread some of that. Perhaps. At any rate, it was funny, and I always thought it was funny. It moves fast, and Tom Green's in it. So it's really dated because Tom Green is in it, and he's like playing he's given a lot of camera time, and it's high Tom Green because it's 2000. But even though it's kind of blatantly disrespectful to women, it's still pretty funny. There's still some laughs. I think it's still funny, and if you can get past that, because they're trying to make fun of themselves, that it's like a meta thing that's going on. That yes, we realize we're chauvinist dicks, and they're trying to like let you know that they do know that by having certain scenes directed and kind of shaped the way they are. But so it's like they kind of get it, but they kind of don't. I don't know. Either way, the character's a lot of fun, and I love a good road trip comedy. I do. So that's me. What can I tell you? And then lastly, Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, which is, I bet in some realms, Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, which came out in 2007, I believe.
That Kat Denning?
Yes. Kat Dennings and Michael Cera.
Okay.
Yeah, they're running around New York City. One night in New York City, teenagers running around.
Did they fall in love?
Hey, who knows? Maybe. Yeah, it's pretty likely they do, but...
Is Belle and Sebastian on the soundtrack?
No, actually not. Band of Horses features
Band
on
of Horses.
the soundtrack.
No, that makes sense.
So,
okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of... It's 2007. There's a pretty good playlist, actually, involved in the movie, but I just kept thinking that in some realms, in some worlds, in some other social structures, that this movie is like everything to them. Like, people grew up with this movie, and they probably watched it a billion times, but I couldn't give a fuck. Like, I just really couldn't get into it at all. It's pretty cheesy and routine, but it just makes me think about when you grow up and when you see a film, it's not necessarily how good that film might be. It just kind of dictates Timing dictates a lot. It's weird.
Well, the demographics dictate a lot, right? I mean, like we're making stuff. A lot of times they're aiming at specific groups, and like I don't think that you and I, even in 2007, may have been in that group that movie
No.
was aimed at.
You're probably right. It's yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Aaron says that that girl digs a phone out of a gross public toilet. That's true.
In the
That
movie,
does
or is
yes.
that what we're talking? Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
I
Another
thought maybe
movie
he's
Aaron's
talking
seen.
about a girl on the street or something. Okay.
That's it. So yeah, that's it. Reducing my movie intake, which I think is a good thing. Summer's here. Go live our lives. Let's live it up.
I did the opposite. I just watched more movies I had seen before, so I wouldn't feel compelled to talk about them.
Oh, that's a smooth move right there. Classic Willico smooth move. Well done. All right. Well, yeah. So let's.
Well, podcasting, huh, guys? Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
See you later. Yeah. So one thing I have learned.
Christ didn't come to earth to give us the willies. He came to help us out.
That's the truth. And Dogma is a 1999 film directed by Kevin Smith, starring a bunch of people: Chris Rock and the two bozos. Kevin Smith is Silent Bob, and Jay, his hetero life mate, which were these guys. We'll talk about them. They were the zeitgeist. They were part of the zeitgeist big time, and they probably still are.
Really throwing doubt on the hetero life mate claim in this movie.
Yes. Yeah, that's a new angle in this. And Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Salma Hayek. I mean, it's a
Alan
huge
Rickman.
cast. Alan Rickman, of course.
Some woman called Lorna Fiondiago or something.
Yeah, that's
the long lost Linda Fiorentino.
Yes.
Shit! Wait! Shit!
What?
I got to mention this. I forgot to mention. You just reminded me. As we're getting into it, it actually connects to Linda Florentino.
What's Jade?
No, I've done that, but I watched After Hours. I never saw After Hours. Martin Scorsese film.
Yeah, I just watched that like last year. What'd you think?
I'm not really sure. It's curious, but then it got a little bit annoying. But then it's like supposed to be what it is, so I shouldn't be that annoyed. It's not trying to hide what it is. It's like this one night in New York after hours. Weird shit's going on in the 80s. Yeah. And that's
Will
cool.
Patton is into S&M.
Yeah, Will Patton, Cheech and Chong are just in this movie as guys who are stealing shit.
I love Griffin Dunn so much. Like I just love him in everything I've ever seen him in. I just love Griffin Dunn. So that's a big draw for me on that one. Yeah,
he's great, and I think he produced the movie too. He really wanted to make this happen, from what I gather. It's an interesting movie. If you never saw, Scorsese's '80s era, his '80s period gets shit on a lot. I feel like more just because it's not Goodfellas or Casino or something like that, but it's definitely creative, and it's fascinating. Catherine O'Hara's in it too. There's a lot of people in this movie, and including Linda Florentino, who was the star of Dogma. So it reminded me of that. Yeah. So there it is. That reminded me of that, and I wanted to get that out because I forgot to talk about it last week. So yeah, we're here for Dogma, though. So Dogma is a 1999 film. We were 19 when this movie came out, basically. We were all in our 19-aged year. And Travis Roy, did you see this when in theaters or not?
Oh, absolutely. I was a huge Kevin Smith fan as a teenager. I saw Clerks when it came out. So I saw when it came out on video. Didn't really get a big theatrical release. So I saw Mallrats in theaters, and I saw this I saw everything he did in theaters until like I think Jersey Girl, and I was like, okay, I don't need to see everything in theaters. But I was a big fan, and so yeah, I remember, this is one of the few movies we've actually talked about on the show where I literally remember the theatrical experience. I remember nothing, none of the context, who I was with, or none of that shit. But I do remember being in the theater and seeing it.
Oh, well, that's healthy. That's great news too.
Yeah, my brain works.
Eric Branch, I don't feel like you saw us in the theater, or maybe you did, and you were just devastated.
I love Clerks. I love Chasing Amy. I detested Mallrats even when it came out. So I did not see this in the theaters. I rented it on DVD, 1999. So that was that. I saw the film.
And then you didn't watch it again until today?
Yeah, it's been 22 years.
That's what I thought.
Okay.
So you didn't care for it then, is what you're saying?
No, I hated it. I could not stand it. But I watched it.
And have been vocal about that ever since, which is fine, which is good. I mean, it's interesting to watch a movie that, because the whole premise of our show of this segment is, does it hold up? And typically it's a movie that the three of us either have, typically have some affection for. This is one of the few movies where one of us outright hated it before, so we'll see what you have to say with that.
Yeah. I mean, I went in open. I mean, I joke about it, but I didn't come in like ready to fucking be rancorous or anything. Especially with remember that Linda Fiorentino is in it. I was glad to turn it on after remembering that.
Controversial take here. How can you not like Mallrats? Unreal. I gotta agree with you there, Aaron.
Because it's not funny.
As Travis's friend growing up too, I was just the biggest fan. I loved all the movies. I never really saw any of them in the theater, but I watched the shit out of them on DVDs and VHS, really. Mostly VHS back in those days. Mallrats was a staple. It was something we quoted to each other, at least the people who liked it. It was just part of our routine for sure. And I loved Kevin Smith's movies up until Jersey Girl. Yeah, you're right. That's the one.
36 Dicks. I mean, yeah.
36 Dicks is great. And yeah, so we try to decide, does it hold up or not? I chose this film because I wanted to look at it from another angle because I really liked it a lot when it came out, and I loved it. I mean, I watched it a lot. I quoted it a lot. And, you know, con air, con shit. You know, I used to say dumb shit like that all the time, and I wondered, is that still the case now? So that's why I picked it. And I didn't really know about Eric's absolute loathing of it. I really didn't. You were more clued into that than I was, Travis. But either way, I still want to find out if it holds up. So that's why we're doing it. IMDb score. Yeah, woohoo! Whee! I didn't look up the score. Any guesses on this score?
I'm gonna guess pretty high, but I'm not too high because I mean, for a couple so this is such a controversial film that the filmmaker felt the need to start the movie with a disclaimer where he defined what a disclaimer was. So clearly this is one that, you know, like he was like this would have triggered some folks. And even among people that love him, I don't know that this is their favorite movie of his. So I'm going to guess mid sixes. I'll say 6.5.
Yeah, 6, 7.
I think this cracked 7 for sure. I think a lot of people liked it. It was his most commercially successful movie, I believe, up until that point.
Yeah, $10 million budget. I think it made 40, so it probably made a good 20, 30 mil after marketing. So yeah, it was a hit.
Yeah.
Which is not saying a lot because all his other movies, even though they're loved by people on VHS, they weren't like massive.
Yeah, but this is also the first time he had anything resembling a budget.
True. That's very true. I'm going to say this is in the 7s. I'm going to say 7.4.
Let's find out.
Actual retail price, 7.3. Shit,
all right,
yeah.
Look at that. Wow,
I'm in touch with society. Yay,
I'm not
for
very
me.
good at this. I'm not good at this game.
You know, it's not fun. Over on Rotten Tomatoes, 67% from the critics. A little harsh. Not terribly harsh, but somewhat harsh. 85% audience. That's almost a 20% discrepancy between the audience and the critics. So this is definitely people like this movie, at least in terms of Kevin Smith fans and maybe people in society in general, right?
Society.
How many times can one guy say society in a single podcast? I'm really hoping at some point that Aaron's going to do an update. You know, he's going to clip this up and edit it and send me like just a society clip. 2 minutes of Mike Govier saying society over and over again. I will say this. The critics have great things to say. So let's hear from our classics, the favorites. Hopefully Destin checks in. I really feel like Destin.
What, you really feel like what?
I feel like he saw it, right?
I bet. I mean, this is about in his time zone, I believe.
Definitely.
I bet he saw this movie in his lifetime. I wonder what he's doing right now.
Hey, Destin, what are you doing out there, buddy? Come on the show. You're more than welcome. We're waiting for you. Right now, open invite, Destin Thompson. Anytime you want, we'll make time. Peter Travers of Rolling Stone says,
I don't care what you think.
Yeah, nobody really cares. We don't really care, Destin, but we're going to hear it. Peter Travers says, thou shalt not stop laughing.
Jesus. I get what he did there.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, here he is, Destin.
Destin.
Woo! Yes. The movie simply demonstrates the limitation of Smith's vision and humorous abilities rather than any satirical prowess. Not a fan. Total splat from Destin.
That's interesting. That's an interesting take. I don't disagree with it. I don't disagree with it. I mean, I do think that the movie, I mean, I I disagree with someone. I think that the movie clearly he's able to say things like Smith is able to make. This is him swinging for the fences. Like this is him. It's a long way from Red State when he's like, I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna say whatever the fuck I want to say. But it's still like he's swinging for the fences and like I'm gonna piss people off. And he makes a statement with it. But I think that the limitations, maybe what Desson, our good friend Desson, is talking about. Might be the limitations of his storytelling skills more than anything.
Wow. That is, there might be some truth to that, actually. And I think what he's also saying, at least in my view, and that's why I'm doing the show, I'm going to give my opinion.
I want to hear it.
It's because that there's still the classic reliance. He's trying to tell a massive tale. Like you said, he swings to the fences here, but there's still a large reliance on the poop and fart jokes and the, we're gay, we're not gay jokes, all that stuff. All the childish humor stuff.
That's the limitation. That's it. That's exactly it.
Yep. Mr. Ebert, Roger Ebert, the legend himself, Smith has made a movie that reflects the spirit in which many Catholics regard their church. He has positioned his comedy, on the balanced line between theological rigidity and secular reality, which is where so many Catholics find themselves. 3.5 out of 4 stars.
And don't forget, Ebert himself name dropped in the film. That was a funny moment, I guess.
Oh yeah, Ebert. Very cool.
Jay's review of the film 16 Candles, I believe it was, right? Or was it Pretty in Pink? There's tits but no bush. That sounds like a Ebert kind of review.
Yeah, it's 16 Candles, John Hughes. Yeah, and they talk about pretty. She says 16 Candles, John Hughes, and I think he talks about Pretty in Pink. Yes,
I thought it was really
Ebert over here.
To interject real quick, I thought it was really interesting that like they bring in like the Hughes verse while we're in the View Askew verse. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, that definitely was intentional, and that was cool. I completely agree with that. The 80s verse meets the 90s verse.
Yeah.
That is a lot of fun. Eric, you want to talk about anything right now? Anything these critics are saying that is hitting you in a certain way?
The film got a lot of flack back in the day. I remember it in '99. It's so controversial. Miramax wouldn't even pick it up because of the controversy. That Lionsgate had to distribute the film. I don't understand. It's hard for me to see how here in 2021 how this was so controversial. Like, there's nothing really that upsetting in it to me, even as someone who considers themselves a believer. I'm not Catholic, but I don't see that many offensive things in it other than the vulgarity in the language. I see a lot of literally half-baked theology that is completely based in no reality at all, and I see a shitload of horrific plot holes and ridiculously bad writing, but I don't see it being that controversial. Yeah, it mentions God, Catholic
just
Church.
bringing in like Nordic stuff and some ancient Greek stuff. We're gonna throw in some Hebrew stuff, and then we're gonna call it all Catholicism. Fuck it.
Yeah. I laugh at the disclaimer, but in the beginning, to me, that's just like, hey, like, regardless of what you think, I know this is dumb. It seems like kind of a way out for him.
Oh God, it was cringy as fuck, that opening disclaimer. Like, oh, that's not punk rock at all, man.
Really?
No, I found it really cringy.
I also think if this came out nowadays,
he wouldn't do that.
He would have been forced to put the platypus one in there because literally people would have been pissed nowadays.
I mean, it was controversial then, and I think that maybe like some of the stuff that seems less controversial to us now, like Jesus being black, we've had 20 years of people talking about. I mean, obviously longer than that, but I mean, like, it's been like when Chris Rock said it in the movie, it felt somewhat controversial then. Now it's like, we sit on Black Santa's lap at the fucking mall now. So it's like no one cares anymore. 20 years ago, I think there was a little bit more of an uproar about that kind of thing. Well, I mean, you're going to find people on the internet who get upset whenever anybody of any race is cast in any fucking movie. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, I think it was more, I do think there was a bit more of an outcry than we might remember now.
Yes. I was going to think, okay, so Aaron says here, by the way, that Christianity actually is a hodgepodge for reals. So
sure.
Okay, yeah.
Not
so
such a stretch. I agree.
You acquiesce to that. Also, this is a fun one. Maybe not for Eric, for us. What's your favorite Jay one-liner from any movie? And yes, Jay is a bozo, and some of his stuff hasn't really held up necessarily, but he's still had a lot of great one-liners. And for me, it's always going to be Mallrats when he says, "Do it, Doug!" when he's behind the scenes This is one fucked up game show. I love that stuff. That's best. That's the best Jay for me. I always loved it.
I'll be honest with you guys. I didn't laugh very much, hardly at all, watching it this time. I got a couple, got a couple of those. But the one line of the movie that made me laugh my fucking ass off on this viewing, like a big guffaw, and for a while, was when Bethany finds out that she's related to Jesus, and Jay like perks up. Does that mean Bethany's half black? I fucking lost it. That's what he's hung up on. That was good. That was funny.
That is a
I
good
mean,
one.
you may be surprised, but I laughed out loud many times during this recent viewing of Dogma. Pretty much every time Jason Mewes said something, I laughed out loud.
Well.
Like, I never, like, for years I've been like, this Snoochie boot, I don't get this, but like I guess I must have been out for a while, because every time he said something I'd laugh. I think the biggest was when he was like, what the fuck is this, the piano? Why isn't she talking? It's just
That was funny.
so funny.
Oh, I also like that when he's like, they walk up on all those dead bodies, like people wonder why I don't go to church. That was pretty funny too.
And I gotta say, like the first like 10, 15 minutes of the movie, I think they're probably the best parts of the movie, is that first like 20 minutes. But when Jay and Silent Bob showed up, I remember today being kind of like, do we have to have them in? I kind of like how this is going now. Do we have to set it in this universe? But I was laughing at literally every time Jason Mewes said something. He's fucking hilarious.
Stunning, and this is breaking news. I'm very, very, very yeah. Wow.
Notice I didn't say I laughed at any other point, but Jason
that's
Mewes
true.
is really
All right, we got it. See, you just blew it, just like Kevin Smith's intro. We didn't need to say that. We know.
Disclaimer.
I gotta tell you, we no disclaimers required, Eric. I will tell you this. This is probably peak Jason Mewes, because after this, the drug use got worse for him and shit got fucked up. And that's not a bad thing. That's just what happened to him. And he was just at the peak of his powers here. Really, it looks like he's pretty lucid and stuff, even though things were already starting to slip off the rails. And Clerks 2, I think, by the way, a side note, Clerks 2, I loved it. I thought Clerks 2 was actually really good, but he's not one of the main reasons for that. But this movie has so many fucking people in it. We got to talk about some of these other people. You got the two bros off their Oscar-winning effort of Good Will Hunting, of course. Ben Affleck and Matt Damon playing buddy angels who have been shit out of hell, shit out of heaven. Yeah. They've been forbidden, and unfortunately, apparently, Wisconsin's worse than hell, which seems that's not a very good joke.
A little rough on Wisconsin.
Yeah, I didn't think that was that funny.
So my big takeaway this viewing was, I think they make the fucking movie. Now Eric is like acting like a bored 8-year-old or something already.
Look at that face.
He clearly strongly disagrees with me. But I feel completely different from you. I'm ready to pluck Jay and Silent Bob out of this movie, and I'd be way more interested on a take on this script that wasn't trying to do all the poo-poo caca jokes, and instead was like I think Ben Affleck does really strong work in this movie. I think that the scene when Matt Damon tells him, "You sound like the fucking Morning Star," it gives me chills. 20 years later, every time I'm like, "Oh, it's so creepy!" Like a burgeoning Satan right here. Like, this is so cool, and I love the language that they use with one another. I love the comedy of them discussing like murdering people in ancient biblical times so casually in front of people, like when they're out in public and stuff. I take issue with the wanton slaying with like circus music going on behind it in more than one scene with these guys, but to a degree,
don't run.
To a degree. But I felt like they're the strongest part of the movie for me.
That's great, dude. When they're on the bus and they're talking, first off, Crush, Groove, or E.T., which one's good? Time's gonna tell on that one, and that's funny. And then, no married man kisses his wife that way. Are you stoned? I love that banter. Those guys together, you're right? That makes my day. I don't need to pluck Jay and Silent Bob out. You can keep them in. I think you keep them all in. But I agree that they are really the backbone of this movie that keeps it. It's not about being grounded, but it keeps it funny. It keeps it entertaining and interesting. And I also considered. Go ahead.
Well, the stakes. I mean, the stakes are there. Like, without them, there's no fucking stakes.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. You're right. But I guess you're reformatting a whole movie, and that would change things. But what I do know is that sounds odd. I don't know how to put it, but the Bible and like the world of Christianity and all these characters and stuff. It's almost like its own universe. I was thinking of like the MCU and all this shit, and I know this might be blasphemy to some people, but I'm like, there's a lot of fantastical storytelling. You could do a bunch of movies if you could just get over taking yourself so seriously. I really do.
Yeah. Well, that that was one of the, that's a good point, which is why I wonder about some of the choices that he made, like Metatron. Like, why are you talking about Metatron like that? Nope, that word's not in the Bible. Like the Archangel Michael, we're familiar with him being the voice of God. Just call him the Archangel Michael. That would make way more sense to people and be in keeping with like Catholicism a little more.
Yeah.
And there's it's just like stuff like that. Like they're like, since the Bible is so peopled in both testaments with interesting characters that, like you say, could be brought out. Like, it's almost like, why not make, how interesting would it have been to have Chris Rock play Judas or something instead of like this bonus apostle, or like, or maybe not Judas, maybe not make the black guy Judas, maybe make him Simon or something. You know what I mean? But like, but you know, I mean, like, I just feel like they kind of lost some opportunities here by like Azrael, like, there's this Jewish demon named Azazel. I guess it's in reference to him, but like, why not? I don't know. Like, I just feel like he got really loose with the demonology when you could have gone straight to the source and like, okay, let's take this and let's take this.
That's a really good point. I did not consider in the point I just made. And Eric, what we're just saying here is that he plays with the terminology and creating names and talking about, like you said, all the examples you just made up. You didn't have to make up the 13th apostle and, this black guy that was screwed over because he was the 13th apostle. It's funny in a sense, and it probably seems quite plausible if he's trying to make it more real and grounded.
But like, why is a guy from Nazareth sound like a guy from Baltimore? I don't know. Like,
I love Chris Rock. I mean, there's no doubt about it. The 90s weren't particularly that kind to him. He had a hard time kind of finding his footing in some of his roles.
It was stand-up time for him.
Yeah, but not. But at this point, the stand-up had blown him up and given him a better. But this is 99. He's rock solid in my opinion. He was not to say here rock solid.
And he's kind of along for the ride after like the initial like, hey, Jesus was black, he owes me money. It's like he's just like there too. I probably would have preferred. Yeah, you don't think so?
He's given great. When he talks about the beliefs versus the ideas, that's some good shit. I like that.
Okay, I like that too.
He's like,
I kind of would have preferred like if Alan Rickman just stayed and like did what Rufus did the entire time. Like, I don't know.
That'd be fine too. I love Alan Rickman. I love Chris Rock. I'm not gonna have a problem with either of those.
Do you have a problem with Alan Rickman flashing someone within 2 minutes or less of meeting them? I'm an angel. Clearly, I'm going to show you my cockless crotch.
You know what?
Bottom feeders think everybody's trying to get in your knickers.
Going back to Loki and Bartleby, like this is by far the most problematic part of the both of these characters. Almost everything they do, I got huge problems with. Like, they're banished to Wisconsin, right, by God. And yet they can just like go wherever the hell they want to, travel to New York. Like, why do they just stay? Like, I don't understand that. Did I miss something?
Well, that's a very interesting technicality that you're hitting on.
That's a good point. I mean, like, I think it's just because they wanted to take a dig at Wisconsin because everyone takes digs at New Jersey. So he's like, I'll stab it. I'll stab it at a random Midwest state.
Yeah, they really went out of their way to Wisconsinize the airport scene with the cheese heads in the background and everything. It's like, oh, we're really here.
Yeah, it's like the bigoted version. Like the stereotypical Wisconsinite. It's such a thing. Yikes. I am offended for the Wisconsinites.
Well, Christ, Mike. I mean, Jesus, like
Christ.
We can talk about plenary indulgence, but like, I would only bring it up because it makes this entire plot like so murky for me. Like, the concept of an indulgence is you can't just have like your sins completely absolved. That's not a loophole at all. Like, you have to already be in a state of grace with God. Like, if they would have like just like ripped their wings off and gotten baptized, then they would have just not even had to like do anything at all. They would have been able to like just like get baptized and then die, and then that would have been it. But like, this whole go through the gate is just like seems like a complete like waste for me that Kevin Smith probably like it goes over my head. Like, I don't understand this plot.
Here's a question. Like, if the problem is that if Loki and Bartleby go through the ark and have their sins cleansed, it will show that God is not infallible. Isn't the fact that they could do that proof that God is fallible in this universe?
Yeah, I mean, and not only that, like, even going before that, when like God takes on the incarnation of Bud Cort and then goes into a coma and is completely helpless in terms of his omnipotence, like, that makes God infallible. The fact that that could happen to him and he could go into a coma,
Or makes him fallible.
that already would turn the world upside down. It's just these little things. Just like, come on, this is what you're going with.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck about it, really. Upon this viewing, I mean, I'm talking about the current viewing. I was like, okay, whatever. I'm just kind of going along because I know the story has to move forward at some point, so I'm not. It's all fantastical as fuck, so I didn't analyze it in a great deal. I
But
guess
that's the problem. Like, I used to think like, oh, like this, like, it's so smart and like they really get into religion. The script is stupid, if you ask me, and it's little things like that there's not thought put in there. It doesn't dissect organized religion in a way that I thought, at least even if I disagree with it, I would have thought is clever or smart. It's just dumb.
I'm a little bit inclined to agree with you. I feel like this is less a vehicle for legitimate criticism as it is like kind of just Catholic bashing. Like, there's a lot of like, I mean, especially coming from Salma Hayek's character, like, you people don't celebrate your faith, you mourn it. Like, there's like, I imagine most of the people that were upset by this movie were Catholics because the message of this movie is not that like God doesn't exist or anything. In fact, what the fuck does it take for you to believe in God, Bethany? You're literally on a crusade. Anyways, like like Smith is actually encouraging belief in God. So I can see why anybody who's like anything but a Catholic, but also a Christian or like especially like spiritual but not religious, is going to be just fine with this movie. But if you're Catholic, I imagine this is insulting as fuck.
Yeah. It's pro faith, but it's anti like religion, which is
Anti-Catholic religion, man. It's not critiquing anything but Catholicism.
Yeah, that's true.
So Janine Garofalo, who's in this movie for one scene,
who was supposed to be the lead.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
That would have been a better film.
It probably would have been funnier, even.
Linda Fiorentino seems like she's having a bad time in this movie.
Dude, I'm sorry, but I love Linda Fiorentino. She's so gorgeous, but this like bedroom voice, like bad acting, it does not work for me at all. Like the character does not even have any. There's nothing to her. Like they don't show you anything in the beginning that makes her. Even the characters, she's just this.
They try to build some of it. I mean, they try to build the story about how she lost a child and her husband divorced her because she couldn't have kids. So they're trying to mix that in as they go along. They don't do it right away. I admit that.
They should have.
I feel like she's got like this really kind of smarmy sort of like fuck this kind of delivery through most of the movie. Like this is like some of the most amazing things that have ever happened to any individual ever are happening to you, and you're like, eh.
but in terms of the just Catholic only bashing, there is he talks about in the beginning with through the looking glass. Sorry, Matt Damon's character Loki talks about the walrus, or the Hindu god. That's like the only time there's a reference to non-Catholic stuff in terms of another religion that even gets mentioned about them shucking and devouring the oysters as they come through through the looking glass poem. But as I think about it now, there is a bashing of religion here, and it's mostly Catholic. And the other thing about that is, I guess I really didn't care. I was like,
You're not a Catholic.
Well, I mean, we started as Catholics, but I was baptized in 1982. What a time! What a great moment! I don't remember it, of course, and I don't care. Hey, I'm so sorry to hear that. What a disappointment. There's no baptism talk in this movie either. What the fuck? Come on. If you're gonna talk Catholicism, there should be some baptism talk. But as far as the religion bashing it, there are moments where they are trying to. Basically, it sounds like the script is Kevin Smith wanting to pontificate about his views of what we're doing right and wrong. And he's trying to use the vessel of God and the Bible and all this religious shit to tell you folks who are watching the film, like, hey, you're getting it wrong. You got a good idea and you turn it into a bad one. Jesus really gets pissed when you carry out shit in his own name. That's what really bothers him because I know him personally. So I don't know if that's a big deal or not, but it's just something to harp on. But I mean, you mentioned too, Janine Garofalo, Salma Hayek's in this movie. Alan Rickman is fantastic in this movie. He's smart. He's smarmy as fuck, and it seems that he probably wouldn't be that way as an angel, but I like it. I still laugh because I love Alan Rickman. Any other performances here? Because there's so many characters in this movie.
I as much like
George Carlin. We haven't talked about George Carlin yet.
Yeah, of course, but I was going to go before I've never cared for Jason Lee in this movie. I feel like he doesn't do a good job in this movie. Like, really? I've always been bugged by his performance in this movie. I'm not sure what it is. I just kind of like, and I like him. I actually like him. But I think that like, I feel like he's one of those guys that really needs like a solid director to really coach him. and that like
Vanilla
Smith.
Sky.
Well, I mean, honestly, like he actually does decent work in Vanilla Sky because Cameron Crowe is probably really attending to him. Kevin Smith's more like, "Hey, buddy, do what you want," kind of thing. Like, you get the feeling, you know.
Yeah.
And
hey,
like,
bring in a skateboard, do whatever you want.
right. And I feel like both, like, honestly, I feel like him and Salma Hayek both are just like really fucking phoning it in, man. Like, just don't know, just earning their paychecks. Like, I don't know. Yeah, like I feel like, you know, like Rickman's taking pride in his work. I think Chris Rock is invested in his character. I think that you know, but I think that Damon and Affleck are in it. But I really feel like every time I watch this movie in '99, I felt like Hayek and Lee were both just kind of like, whatever, I'll do it on the first take.
I mean, Lee. I mean, having to endure Selma Hayek trying to say like one line of dialogue is rough for me. But Jason Lee shows up. Like for me, he shows up ready to go with the energy. It's there and the fun is there, but it's this limp script. Like, oh, I like AC. Oh, I'm going to spend 5 minutes setting up this holy bartender joke that's not even funny. It's the script.
It's not funny, but it's, you know, oh, I get it. Holy bartender. It's a great joke. Real quick here. I think you guys want to talk about this too. Aaron wants to know, where do you find this movie streaming, which goes into a topic that you guys wanted to mention.
There it is.
Yeah, like the film The Good Girl. This was like this weird moment where Eric and I both sat down to watch it in our separate
I keep blowing
experiences.
I'm sorry.
And it was like, where the fuck is this movie? Has it been scrubbed from existence? And apparently it's got something to do with, you know, the fuck Weinstein. But it's on YouTube, and there's like if you just Google or, you know, search Dogma full movie, the first thing that comes up is something that says Dogma full movie, real deal. And it's got a picture of Buddy Christ. That's the one. It's like HD quality. It's perfect. It's like as good a version you could ask for.
The only version you can ask for.
It's the only
unless
version
you own
you
it.
can ask for. It's been on YouTube for like 3 years. It's got like 240,000 hits or something. Like, if you want to watch Dogma, that's where you got to go. Apparently, is Dogma full movie, real deal.
Yeah, I don't know if Harvey Weinstein has internet access in prison, so he's not been able to find out that his movie.
Well, I hope he gets it so he can find a cord and then strangle himself with that cord so he's dead.
Or hopefully someone else strangles him. That would be even better. But I tell you this, yes, this movie has legal issues related to it because the Weinstein owned the rights, but all the other rights are spoken for and approved, except for some reason the digital licensing rights, the streaming rights. But all the other Kevin Smith movies, I don't know, because, you know, Weinstein, this wasn't the only Weinstein movie or Miramax movie that the Weinsteins ran, so I don't know what happened with the other movies and why they got approved for streaming rights and this one didn't, but that is currently the case, and there seems to be no sign of that changing.
Okay.
So that's that. And I just put the link in the live stream. I just put that link in the live stream that Travis just mentioned, so if you guys want to hit that up and you haven't been able to find a copy.
This movie also had a lot of, like, you know, people showing up from other films of Kevin Smith. You got Grant Hicks, you got Brian O'Halloran showing, you got Brian O'Halloran showing up. You got Jeff Anderson showing up.
Later.
Yeah, you've got Dwight Ewell showing up to be a disposable black life sacrificed to the shit demon. Which, by the way, a quick correction on this show. We talked on The Crow how Dwight Ewell played Tintin. That's not true. Lawrence Mason played Tintin in The Crow, just to correct an episode from like 40 episodes ago or whatever.
That episode does not hold up.
The Crow episode doesn't hold up. But I think that's fun. Like you're watching the film and like you get like a collection, an assortment of View Askew regulars, which is cool.
Yeah, I always love that. And world building before there was the MCU, it was not a thing that happened. So I always like continuity. Yeah. I love Seinfeld because it had continuity, like referenced old episodes and stuff. It's a little thing, but it's always a big thing to me. And I know that isn't the most important thing to other people, but that's why this movie was cool back in the day. And wasn't there somebody else in there? No, that's it. That's pretty much all the side characters I wanted to mention. What else, gentlemen? I'm sure there's plenty of others that we haven't hit on here. Some big topics with this movie.
Well, I'd like to jump back into something I alluded to earlier, which is something that we've talked about before when it comes to shooting violence in films from the 90s. You have the shooting scene on the bus, and then you have the shooting scene at the movies boardroom.
Corporate.
Yeah, the corporate offices of Movies Incorporated.
And this is the introduction of movies, by the way, too, side note. So.
Yeah, that's true. That's right. So I I've always kind of like felt a little weird about him, but I feel even weirder about him now because again, like it's not like I can't handle violence in film. I mean, all I watch is fucking horror movies. That's like all I watch is other than the movies I've watched for the show.
That's
but
a
like,
laugher.
right. I enjoy violence in horror movies, or in movies generally. But like, there's something about the depiction of violence in this movie that's always kind of sad, a little funny to me. Like a bunch of unarmed people just getting mowed down left and right, and this music through it. Like I just feel like that's the kind of stuff that like it's just interesting in the same way that like there's more than one joke about like latent homosexuality, and there's some like random slurs kind of alluded to throughout the movie, stuff that just would not make it into a movie now. It's just worth pointing out that some of this stuff is extremely dated.
Good point. I mean, for me, that's I don't like that scene mostly because you don't have this Verhoeven squib violence. Like a lot of it is just like the blood on the movie statue and stuff.
Yeah.
It's there. For me, the problem is this casual talk about pedophilia in like almost like a humorous way when we're talking about the errors of these board members. It's like that's not funny. Like it just grosses me out. And the whole idea, even in the bus too, it's like, yeah, Loki's the angel of death, but like, does he give murder to people or does he take them to the afterlife after they're dead? Like, what is this? Who are these people? Who are these characters?
I want to give the third option here. I love.
That's right, Aaron. We did go to First Lakes. Yes. What was it? First Lakes Baptist.
Was that First Lakes? Okay.
I can't remember, but you're right, Aaron.
Freely support us. You guys are out there. Hope you're doing well. Shout out. But I love. And you're right, Travis. This is the same year Columbine happened, 1999, and the world started changing. At least our stupid country started changing. And I love the depiction of the movie scene still because I hate corporations and I don't see these people as real people. I don't. And I love the fact that they save for the one good person, at least, faith-wise, on that board. But she didn't say, God bless you, when I sneezed. Getting off light, and that's where getting off light comes because I've been saying that a lot lately. But I will tell you this: I don't have a problem with it, but I do understand the bus scene. Yeah, that's nobody should be shot in the head for cheating on their wife.
Right, that's ridiculous.
Extreme, way extreme. So to me, there's a huge difference between the bus scene and the corporate boardroom scene, and the fact that they are offering the casual pedophilia. To me, they're laying out the crimes of these people as being, I don't think it's that crazy to think that some of the sickest fucks and the most depraved assholes and power-hungry people in this world try to get to these big positions. That's not a stretch to me.
Sure, and they justify all the murders in advance by going through it, and we don't get treated to seeing the murders through itself. Maybe I'm a delicate snowflake.
I don't disagree on that.
But
it's the tone. It's the way Damon. And for me, he's annoying the whole entire movie, but particularly here, it's this playful tone. We're expected to be chuckling, and they're talking about 11-year-old boys getting sexually assaulted. Fuck that.
I agree.
Irresponsible.
Yeah, that's weird. You may proceed, mon ami.
But that's one of the things I wonder as I watch the movie. I'm like, am I not laughing because the movie's not that funny, or am I not laughing because I'm dead inside? I'm not really sure.
Both.
At least that's indeterminate. It's still incomplete. I like that. I appreciate that. But yeah, that didn't really bother me. And the fact that the God gets trapped in this body and this clever plan by Azrael, I thought it was cool. I was like, oh, cool. That's a smart plan, actually. I thought it was some decent script writing because that seems like it would make sense in the most ridiculous, fantastical world that this is.
Uh-huh.
But,
okay, well, I have a big question, though, if we're talking about script writing. And I've wondered this since I saw this in theaters. Last night I went on Wikipedia, I went on IMDb, I went on like other sites, like reading plot outlines that people had written, trying for the life of me to finally, before this podcast, to understand what the fuck happens to Bethany when she kills Bud Cort. Why does she just start bleeding out of her stomach? She unplugs something? What, does a plug fucking stab her in the stomach? Like, why are you bleeding? I never understood this. Did you guys know?
The Bible says. Yeah, because the martyrdom, you have to, they mention it in the movie, technically.
Well, yeah, they say, the thing about being a martyr is that you have to die, but show how or why she died. Like she like pulls the plug and then she's just bleeding out of her stomach. I get it. Yeah. Like, okay, that's the wound in the side. I get the illusion. Thank you. But like, what the fuck put it there?
I thought it was just God. That's what God does when you try to save God. And you
well,
release God because you can't handle the voice of God. That's
Well, I'll tell
something
you what,
can't
guys.
handle.
I am confused by God and his or her actions.
I thought you were gonna allude to the fact that why the fuck do these guys have to take buses and trains? Why don't they just fly their asses over there and
Keep
get
it a low
this shit-
profile.
Yeah, but who cares? What low profile for what?
So when
Like-
they get there, they can pick everybody up in the sky so the
Yeah.
people don't leave. They don't leave. They'll just wait patiently for their turn to be brought up into the sky and dropped to the ground.
That's what I'm saying.
They're
Yeah.
outside. They can just run any direction. But no.
Yeah.
No.
It is so. By the fact, that's one of the funny lines too. When Azrael meets up with them in the Walmart or the department store that they're in, he's like, "I gotta get this done before I gotta get back to the pit before they notice I'm gone." I always laugh. Get it back to the pit. Sounds like a nice little name that I would call hell as well. But the other thing too, I wanted to mention is Cardinal Glick, played by George Carlin.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be like I thought a purposeful casting because
Oh yeah.
George Carlin clearly. Not really. He's anti-religion. He's made fun of religion. That's his thing. That's part of his shtick is making fun of all things in society that we hold so dear. Is that clever now, or is that just like whatever? Because I actually think he's, his limited appearances. I laugh. I chuckle. Oh, this is like solid Carlin line delivering, and I'm down with it.
I mean, I wish that the man had appeared in film more often. Like he really didn't do it that often, and when he did, it's usually pretty iconic.
Yeah.
So I enjoy him in this film.
Yeah, I
absolutely.
mean, again, he shows up and he's funny. He's got the energy, like he's ready to go. But he's not penning the script. He's not behind the camera. I'm sure he could have had a lot more to add. He's Cardinal Glick, and he's got this stage. He could go off and off and off, and it could have been great. But with this script, he's limited because we've got this filmmaker is a self-professed Catholic practitioner. So I'm sure he would go against some of Carlin's beliefs, but it's just there's nothing for him to work with that much.
Well, he's only in like a couple scenes, and his whole purpose is to show like the decay at the center of the church, in case we needed that, I guess.
Cute, but playtime with the Cardinals over, kids.
He's the kind of asshole that would bless his clubs.
What about the ending of this movie? Does anyone get emotional? Did anyone really start to get like, wow? Because they try to sell a somewhat emotional, almost cathartic ending. Because Bartle, I'm asking the question. These are the questions that need to be asked. And Bartleby's head gets blown off, but in a sense of forgiveness, a forgiving blowing.
Really been covering the ears of everyone else.
Yeah.
Like, why doesn't God just speak? He shouldn't have to yell. Anyways,
That's a fair point.
There was a
And
couple of
it's Alanis
tracks off
Morissette.
Jagged Little Pill that made my head almost explode too. So.
I bet. That's a great album.
when Bartleby is descending in front of the church, covered in blood with the wings behind him, I always fucking love that moment. It's a badass scene, and that's what I'm like. This could have been done real right. This could have been a fucking horror movie that would have been so gnarly. It would have been so cool. He would have been so badass in this role. So yeah, I really enjoy that. But like, as far as like the rest of the end, I mean, like, it's an okay. I question like you're spending almost 2,000 years with Loki as your only companion, and like you lose it so much at the end that you don't just kill him, you send him to fucking hell, because he sent him to hell. He knows he's sending Loki to hell. Like it never really occurred to me before, but like it's like the murdering Loki's bad enough. But as I was watching it last night, I'm like, fuck, he just sent Loki to hell, and he knows that. That doesn't seem in keeping with the Bartleby from 30 minutes earlier in the movie.
Yeah, they're on that train, and they get thrown off the train, and then suddenly he becomes this psycho.
Because
he's supposed to have this epiphany.
Well, because he realizes that that they're going to be killed by the last Scion. But even still, like he's informed, like, hey, you're going to destroy everything. And like, well, Azrael, like he knows he's going to destroy everything, and that's fine because he's selfish, and that makes sense for that character. But
Yes.
Bartleby had spent a millennia or two like trying to protect human beings and that kind of stuff. So for him to spin out, like as much as I love watching him freak out, I do think it's structured poorly.
And he's the guy who got Loki to lay down his sword originally. So there's a backstory of eons of him being somebody who he said in the beginning of the movie when they're sitting at the airport, he's like, oh, these two people, they don't even realize that she cheated on him, but they're just so happy to see each other. I like that is what he literally says.
Yeah, you're right. So it's a pretty sudden turn. It would have made more sense for the Loki character to be the one that spins out.
Yeah. They tried to throw a curveball at us or something, but it doesn't work at all. I agree.
Also would have made more sense for him to fuck with maybe a priest, someone who actually is a member of the clergy, unlike nuns who aren't even part of the clergy. It's just
I do
Stupid
like
little things like this. Come on,
you mean when Loki's fucking with the nun?
with Lady Aberline from Mr. Rogers.
Yeah. I do like that that he takes Lewis Carroll and uses him as a means to advance atheism, which is really clever. That was interesting. You're muted, friend.
You are muted.
Yeah. There's little nuggets that are like, okay, there's something here. There's that. There's when Chris Rock is talking about how, oh, God doesn't despise this. He hates war and televangelism and stuff. There's stuff there, but it's like you said, it's just told to us. Like there's not that so much shown in terms of the actual story. And for a film that calls itself a comedy fantasy, and it tries to, in my opinion, try to like stay out of grander themes, it has no problems with coming out and saying, oh, this is what God thinks about this or that through the voice of these characters. I don't know how well that sits with me.
Through the voice of Kevin Smith.
Really?
And you talk about character motivations, though, Travis. You do have to give the script credit because when the world's ending, Jay's character tries to fuck Bethany. That is
early on.
That is him. On. So that I'll give him credit
funny.
for that.
It's funny, but 80, 85, maybe even 90% of the Bethany character is just her being the butt of fuck jokes nonstop.
Well,
constantly.
Another thing, good point. Another thing that just does not sit well. Like when she finally is like, "Yeah, I'd fuck you if there was 5 minutes left," and he's like,
Come
"Slut,
on, girl, it's like, grow up,
dude, what the fuck?" It's not funny.
Yeah, great.
I mean, they're way
99.
It's the period.
Speaking of being crass, I'll be crass for a moment. Can you imagine being surrounded by corpses with the knowledge that there's 5 minutes or less of existence, and then being able to get a hard on? On the other hand, apparently Jay is the world's most profligate masturbator, so he should be like ducking out like every 2 minutes or less in this movie, because like he should be way busier in this movie because they make the claim that he jerks off more than anybody else in the world.
After you lay eyes on the Golgothan shit demon, it's it might be a few days before you can ever get
no woman.
Shit,
like the shit demon. The shit demon's hilarious, and when he fires his shit rocket, it's clearly shitty CGI, which is hilarious too. But I still like it. I love it. The shit demon's funny, and the fact that he gets knocked out by an odor killer, it's funny. I laugh.
Funny.
Is it the second Indiana Jones reference? Because we got No Ticket, which I love that moment.
Definitely
the No Ticket, but I also kind of feel like this is kind of like Indy shooting the guy with the sword kind of moment, where you're introduced to this big bad who's clearly so dangerous, and then they take him down with like nothing.
Which has been exploited in tons of movies since Indy 2.
Oh,
You're
sure.
Right.
Yeah.
This is the dumbest question to even consider, but like, how does the shit demon intend to like kill them? Just like throw shit at them? Like, what is it trying to do to them?
We don't get to see his martial arts skill. That all takes place off screen while some of the
there's
only
a
black
shit interrogation scene that's going down.
Okay.
We missed that too. She's gonna what she calls Serendipity is gonna interrogate the shit demon.
Muse. Yes, I love it. Address each other as Muse, Maurice, Apostle. Yeah, she's like I'm gonna make a Molotov cocktail and give you lots of exposition right now.
And when she shows up at the end there, and Loki's like, "Oh, what's with the tits?" Like that's over the top too. It's like, good lord. There's definitely a lot of women are the butt of the joke here, no doubt about it. But also the woman is like the last scion.
Sorry, go ahead.
So,
Oh yeah, woman is the last time, but this is largely a sausage fest for Linda Fiorentino, man. Like it's like when like Serendipity shows up, but other than that, it's just a bunch of dicks or guys without dicks in this movie for the most part.
This is not Jersey Girl. Yeah, this is pre-Jersey Girl Kevin Smith. So you're absolutely right about that. All right. Anything else here? Because I think it's time for us to make our final ruling, unless we've missed something very, very important here. We've mentioned the homophobia. There's a homophobic remarks, clearly.
Yeah,
obvious.
To be expected for a comedy from 99. Not to give it a pass, but I mean, like, obviously we took down Joe Dirt for that reason, but also Joe Dirt was pretty unforgiving with that. Like it was relentless.
It was way more.
Yeah, with this you had like a couple little jokes, and mostly it was Jay's latent homosexuality, which I'm fine with. I wish they'd embrace it more, and just at some point they need to just bring that character out and make him start dating a man. Like at this point, if they make any more movies with him,
he does say when he's like, "You jerk off more than anybody else on the planet."
Right,
everybody knows that. Yeah, and then he says, "Well, no, dude, not all the time." So he even admits to it. That's just it's kind of cool. Not like completely in denial about it.
Sure, right. So yeah, I mean it's all right.
Well,
I think we've nailed
Well-
most of the points I wanted to make.
Well,
Immaculate Conception brought in at the end just for shits and giggies. That's fun.
yeah.
Um,
What about the backlash Alanis Morissette got for being God in this movie? Is that
God is a
ridiculous?
Canadian. God is a Canadian.
Completely over the top and ridiculous. I don't know why. I mean,
I think it's distracting, actually. Like I get like having. I think it's cool. I think it's really cool that he has both a man and a woman play God in this movie. To be like, gender is ridiculous when you're talking about a deity. That's cool. But like that, it's Alanis Morissette. Like, how could all you ever see is Alanis Morissette?
yeah, you're thinking it the whole time, and like she's mugging the entire time. It's like, come on, let's just get someone else in here.
Yeah.
I didn't think about it like that. That's fair, but
Patchwork boxers.
oh, what a day.
Lord, I knew you had it in you.
Well, I can't remember the last time I went first, so I'll throw it out there.
Here
Does it hold
comes.
up? You know how I feel. I did not dislike it as much as I did when I first saw it. That's part of growing up. And I'm going to tell you, there are some fun moments. The shit demon's funny, and I'll give Kevin Smith credit. No one was like, this is the type of film you'd see like maybe Monty Python doing in the 70s or something, but in the 90s, no one was going to set a toe into this type of water at all. So I'll applaud him for that effort. And Jay and Silent Bob are fucking funny in it. I think this is the funniest the pair are in any of the USQ movies, in my opinion. Literally half-baked theology here. I got a lot of issues with just the disregard for a lot of the tenets and facts of this religion. and I got to tell you, this is the kind of movie for me. It's just what happens when you give mediocre, maybe even a little bit more than mediocre talent just a blank check to do whatever he wants to. You get a movie that's not that funny, but it looks great. It's well shot, great actors, everyone's on board. So it's hard to like turn away from it because you've got great performances coming from some of your favorite people. But the script isn't good, in my opinion, and it's just not there. I'm not offended by it at all. I don't think it deserves any of the backlash it got from anyone back in the day. It's different. It's trying something new, and ultimately, it's a positive film. It's pro-faith. There's nothing ugly or negative about what it's trying to say for the most part. But it's just not that good, and it doesn't hold up, in my opinion.
And Kevin Smith joined a bunch of protesters protesting his own movie, which was on the TV news locally in New Jersey, which is hilarious.
So funny.
Yep.
Mike, you want to go next, or you want me to go next?
I'll go next. Thumbs down from Derek Fern. Disappointing. This is a film, which is true. And
Off to a good start. Keep going.
has things to say. It's still funny. There's a lot of funny stuff. I am definitely not a religious person of any. I mean, I got some Jewish stuff in me, but Jewish is more like a cultural identity. It doesn't have to necessarily be so religious, although it certainly is. I don't think that the blowback, I don't think maybe we did a good enough job of kind of expressing how bad it was because we forgot, because we're not there anymore. There was a lot, the bombings of abortion clinics in the 90s and stuff, those were real things that happened. So, and that was, I remember specific events during the 90s when that stuff went down, and it probably continued in the early 2000s, but I have to check the factual timeline to verify that. So the risk here in having somebody who works at an abortion clinic who ends up being like the most important religious figure in terms of humanity, I find that to be pretty cool because she still goes to church. She's a Catholic, and the tithings from her come from an abortion clinic, that's funny to me. I think that is funny because life's like that. And religious humor will always be funny to me because I think it's taken too seriously. And I think religion is just really kind of a, man-made stuff and human-made stuff is just over the top. And there's spirituality out there, and it's a bond that surrounds us. It's within us. There's shit we'll never know about because our human brains can't understand it. I don't know what it is. That's the thing, though. I don't pretend to try to solve it. I can't know it. And much as I would like to, it's just not something that's going to happen. So this is just comedy, and it's got issues that we've already covered. It's funny enough where I also am entertained beyond the comedy. I'm just like, I like the interactions here. You ripped on the script here, Eric, but I like the dialogue of the script in a lot of the conversations. Not all of it, but there's a lot of it. Like Travis said, the Loki and Bartleby exchanges are great when they're all on the train and they don't know that. That's the thing too. They don't even know that they're against each other at that time because they're all having fun together, smoking weed and with Bartleby and Loki and doing shots with Bethany and Bartleby, just hanging out, having a great time. And then they find out all of a sudden they're on these sides and it just changes everything. And I actually think that's pretty clever. I think that's what makes this movie hold up to me, is the fact that you think you know one thing and you're so convinced of it, but if you don't actually know, you could probably be different, or you could take a different tact or have an entirely different conviction without knowing it. So I think this movie holds up because it's entertaining, fun, has some clever points, certainly has some disappointing points, but it's enough for me that I'll say it holds up.
All right. So it's on me. Oh, all the power. So I like, I've outlined some flaws. I'd like to kind of like harp on some more of that, I guess. Like, again, like I struggle to watch a film where a protagonist is questioning their belief in God, even though they go to church every Sunday. And here they are being visited by the burning bush. They got apostles falling from the sky. They got demons coming into their life. They got all this shit, like everything but the big man himself being like, hi, I'm God, showing up in front of him. And still she's like, literally, like, she's like, at one point, like half of the scene that you're talking about, an hour into the film, when the protagonist and antagonist finally meet, she's like, to hell with them about God. Like, what? You're working for God right now. Aren't you on a crusade? And then you got Bartleby, for instance, again, like, I don't know, an eternity of being this angel, and then like he gets off the train, and as much as I was talking about it earlier, how I love that scene where he has that confrontation with Loki, but like, why are you just now getting jealous of humanity, friend? Like, what? Why is this just occurring to you that all of a sudden you're not the most favored? Like, you should have come to terms with this sometime before Adam and Eve, even, you know? So like, I feel like there's a lot of inconsistencies in this script. I feel like a lot of what's happening is, you know, it's not, like you were talking about continuation and how important that is to you. That's important to me too. And like, as is like staying within the logic of your film. And I don't know that that's always happening, you know, in this movie. I feel like he just kind of does whatever he wants to make the point that he wants to make, but that the points are often kind of angsty and juvenile. Like, these aren't real critiques of religion so much as they're like, mommy and daddy pissed me off when they made me go to church growing up. It's kind of the feeling I got from it. But it is an important film for this filmmaker. This was a crucial step in his filmmaking. As much as I love a lot of his earlier stuff, I really think highly of Red State. I think highly of Tusk. I think highly of some of his later work, and he wasn't going to get there without at some point trying to like mash the View Askew universe together with like larger points that he wanted to make. Because it wasn't until after this movie he was finally like, all right, I gotta like set down Jay and Silent Bob for at least one movie and just tell a story that's Jersey Girl, which again I don't think is actually that bad, to be honest. But I really don't. It's not great, but I don't think it deserves the hate that it gets. It's no Gigli. Let's say that. Anyways, back to Dogma. I will say that without much enthusiasm, this film does hold up. Yeah, it does hold up. I didn't laugh a ton, but this is still an inventive and unique movie with that's very much of its time. And I personally couldn't like watch it every year or anything like that. It would just completely lose all luster. But it was decent going back to watch it again. If it's been 22 years or whatever since you've watched it, it's worth checking out again. It holds up.
22 years.
There it is.
What have you done with your 22 years, huh?
Nothing.
Watch some other Kevin Smith movies.
Yeah, well, hey, at least we got movies out of this. That'll always be the gift that keeps on giving. So
Yeah.
Movies.
I love movies. You got
Movies.
Skinny calf, the side order of onion rings. Thanks. All right, so there it is. Dogma. Interesting conversation. Some controversy, some disappointments, some laughs, Either way, that's how the cookie crumbles here on the Cinema 9 podcast. We, side of milk, a couple of cookies. Don't forget that cinema9pod, protonmail.com is our email, and you can connect with all of our social media platforms. You know all of them. We don't need to relay them to you. I feel like I can tell you we're on social media, and you'll know what that means. I think that's enough. And, of course, 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. That'd be great. 5 stars. Woohoo. It just makes the show better. And it makes us feel more connected with society. There it is. One society for the road. All right, Eric.
Society.
Great. Eric Brancham, your wife, Angela, will be on the show next week. What does she have in store for us?
Well, talking about life's coincidences and the divine nature of things, I've got one for you. I don't think it's not a Kevin Smith movie. And I don't think she knew that we were doing Dogma this week, but get this. So we are going back to 1997, and it's going to give us a chance to talk about a filmmaker that I don't think we've discussed at length on the program, Danny Boyle. It's a 1997 British romantic black comedy that kind of flew under the radar. The plot is literally two angels are sent to Earth to help a couple try to fall in love. Life less ordinary.
We already know Mike doesn't like this movie.
You remember
earlier on the show. Yeah,
you remember that? Yeah,
we had very, very venomous things to say about this movie. So we'll see if you feel that way on this viewing.
I've never seen it.
It was like at least 6 months ago, I think. So
you've never seen it?
Like that.
No.
Oh, all right.
I didn't know there was angels in it. I thought it was like, Delroy Lindo.
We got Delroy, so that's something.
Well, we're doing more angel comedies, more heavenly comedies.
Heavenly
Jersey
comedy.
Girl is 50 minutes too long, by the way.
Yeah, we've all been a privy to the slow education of Kevin Smith as a filmmaker.
Yes, we get it. Okay, so A Life Less Ordinary. Interesting. All right. God, I can't remember who was in that movie. Besides Delroy Lindo and Holly Hunter. I remember
Ewan
them.
McGregor and
Dan Hedaya, Ian Holm.
Cameron
Who's the woman?
Diaz?
Yeah, Cameron
Is it
Diaz.
Cameron Diaz?
Yeah.
Oh, we haven't revisited anything with
yeah.
her in a while. That makes me happy. I mean, we love her so much in Vanilla Sky. She was the only thing any of us liked in that movie. So it'll be nice to talk about her again. Hopefully,
Citizen Dildo.
Citizen Dildo, I should say. Correct.
All right, A Life Less Ordinary. Next week, Delroy Lindo, Holly Hunter, Cameron Diaz, Ewan McGregor, and we're going to have fun with Angela. Looking forward to having Angela on the show again. And maybe we'll learn something from her, I think. We'll learn something from you, Angela. Make sure you have, Angela, your quarantine viewing picks ready to go, because we're going to want to know what they are.
A lot of Murder, She Wrote.
That is not. Those are TV shows. Those do not count, Angela. I want to make sure that's clear. Fucking kidding me. All right. Just got a breaking news, dumb shit for me. Not important in society, but just a minor inconvenience for myself. Who cares? The show's over. Cinema 9 Pod. Until next week with Angela Brancham live and uncensored. We'll catch you next time.
Bye-bye.